Congressman Mike Kelly is going hard after Democrats for supercharging the death tax. He had a meeting on it this morning, and he's here to talk about the plans, Democrats' plans rather, to reach into your pocket even after you've been buried. Welcome, Congressman Kelly. It's good to see you. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you, Dana. Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Of course. I'm very curious as to what you learned from the party across the aisle from you in your meeting today. Did you walk away hopeful at all? Does it look like they're going to walk this back? I mean, because it seems kind of a crazy plan considering that, I mean, it penalizes families and the people who have to bear the cost. I mean, quite a lot, but it never historically has really generated a lot of revenue. So why would they do this?
Because they have no other ways of finding revenue. You can't spend the way we're spending and then think that, wait, there's got to be somewhere we can go to go after things. The whole focus on today was, so when you look at what's taking place, so people pay taxes their whole life, right? Then you die, so you get taxed. But the idea is there's just never enough. And so I think if you're to ask our friends on the other side, how much is enough, they'd say just a little bit more. In this case, it's not just a little bit more. It's a lot more. And so where do you find it? Any place we can. And if it's somebody who's worked all their life and saved and scrimped and really looked at it and saying, you know what, it's not about me, but it is about my kids and it's about that next generation. So I want to build something that I can pass on to them on my death, that they can go ahead with their lives and be successful, build it even bigger so that, again, can get transferred. But there's just, for whatever reason, and believe me, I have no idea why it's just like this. I think most of the people that are facing this are blue-collar people who started small and worked and reinvested and followed the guidelines that most people who understand that at some point in your life you have to pay for what you're using. But we're turning the tables on them and saying, listen, we're really glad you did that because now we'll dip in and we'll make sure that even after your death, we're still able to somehow extract some type of a revenue, because quite frankly, we can't afford what we're doing, but you can. And I think the misconception in this country is somehow that the government is paying for all these things. And Dana, I know you've been working on this for years, and when I talk to people, I understand, just please understand, the government pays for absolutely nothing. Hard-working American taxpayers do. In this case, you can't even die. So these are the two things in life or that you can't get away from are death and taxes. In this case, footnote that even after death, we're still going to come after you. So yeah, you can't get away from death. You're never going to get away from taxes, even upon your death. So, and the people who survive, your heirs, are going to get hit, and they're going to maybe have to sell whatever it is that you were able to leave to them in order to pay the taxes on this asset that really belong to the government and not to you. It's absolutely upside down thinking.
It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly punitive as well. And I love the point that you made that this really affects a lot of blue collar folks, because the majority, there was not too long ago, maybe a couple of years ago, there were some pieces in Wall Street Journal, Forbes as well, that said this idea of nouveau riche, of old money in the United States, is kind of a fairy tale. I mean, there are a few families like maybe the Waltons that have generational, quote unquote, generational wealth, but by and large, it's people who, especially in the startup and tech startup, that are creating their fortunes, creating these empires for them, and being able to pass that off to their families. It's all new money. So it's really punishing the American dream. It's punishing people for achieving it.
Yeah, sure. Well, all the tech oligarchs, and of course, when you put people in these categories. By the way, so we talk about Mr. Walton. Mr. Walton started with absolutely nothing and built it into something that is just incredible. One of the biggest retailers I think we ever could imagine. But again, could he do that in today? What could he be able to do? How would he pass on to his heirs? And you talk to any of the people that have accumulated some type of wealth, and of course, there's a certain percentage of people that were born into wealth. But the biggest wealth you can be born into is being born in the United States of America. Every American is born with a silver spoon in his or her mouth, because of who we are, what we are, and the nation and what it stands for. And that it doesn't matter where you start. Everybody's going to have the equal opportunity. Maybe not the equal outcome, but the equal opportunity. So how do you tell people that work hard all their life that even upon your death, what you think you've done for your heirs, we're going to dip into that and we're going to destroy that. At some point, you just get to the point, you know what? I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And that's the dangerous part right now. I just think that we are destroying the American dream because of the American nightmare. And that is an administration that just cannot stop spending money. And honestly, Dana, if you and I were to look at the money supply right now, the M1, the growth in our money supply, if we were to look at that, we would swear to God that in the last 5 months, somebody was counterfeiting at such a rate and pushing it into our monetary system that it's really dangerous. And that's the reason we don't want people counterfeiting money. But we find out, no, you don't understand. It's your own treasury that's doing it. We have reduced the value of our money to a point. So when people talk about inflation, I said there's also another problem. The value of your dollar has gone down. So it comes fast forward then to what about those that work a lifetime with the idea that somehow they were being able to pass on to somebody else, their heirs, this wonderful, wonderful business model that they produce, whether it's a farm, whether it's a small business. Why would you take that incentive away from anybody? At what point do people then get excited about, you know what, I'm going to make it better for my kids. I'm going to make it better for not just my kids, but my grandkids and maybe my great-grandkids because I'm an American and I have the opportunity to do that. The outcome is different for everybody, and I understand that, but the opportunity to do it, there's no other place in the world that you can do this. Why would we take that incentive away from folks?